Hello. Uh, this is my first time making a video on doubles OU that I've actually, well, hopefully I'll finish and upload. I've done a couple tournament analysis attempts in the past, but never quite made my way through them. First of all, I apologize for my mic being really bad. You're probably gonna have to turn me up, and I'm, go find your own background music if you'd like. Sorry. Uh, it'll go into my microphone. Anyway, uh, all that aside, the purpose of this video is I want to talk about a sort of recent development, and I say recent very loosely, right? I'm calling it recent because this is a like a 12-year-old tier, but we'll talk about Deoxys-S in XY doubles OU, and I'm gonna do that through the lens of my doubles Premier League run last year. For those of you that don't know, last year, if I'm in the doubles Premier League archive right now, but I should probably go and pull up the spreadsheet for the tournament so I can brag a little bit. But yeah, if we pull up the doubles Premier League spreadsheet, uh, you can see I went 7-2. This isn't actually the best record in the tournament. Umbry had a win in a tiebreaker that was not counted, putting her at 8-2. But I did tie for I guess the second best record in the tournament, and I had the best record in the XY pool. So I guess there's my credibility. And sort of what I want to do is I want to talk about how my DPL run ended up looking like this. What Deoxys S is really good for in XY doubles OU, if that's something you're unfamiliar with, and sort of analyze my replays as well. Uh, so let's just hop into week one. So it's the first week of Doubles Premier League. I'm trying to come up with new ideas. And my first opponent is Single Thunder, somebody who is definitely one of the more, I would say, XY enthusiast type players. And I wanted to come up with something that would probably catch them off guard a little. And I decided that I wanted to use Kangaskhan and Deoxys S. So that was sort of what I started with. And I'm looking for it in the XY thread here. I believe it's on page 4. If I can find it. Gotta scroll down a little bit here. Yes, here we go. This team by Zaya was like the first time that I really saw Deoxys S used. And you can see it's like somewhat similar to the team that I ended up bringing week one. You know, we got the Kangaskhan, we got Deoxys S. Zaya had special Landers. Or Landers I rather. I've got special Scarf Lando T. Because I wanted to intimidate. I've got Jellicent as sort of my like goggles water type, and then I think Zaya used Scarf Genesect. I have Choice Band Genesect, but overall, like it's pretty similar. It's definitely where I drew a lot of my inspiration from, and I did play with other variants of Deoxys S. Like in between. I think Zaya built this for like XY Cup, and there was some XY tournament I played in between Zaya having this run with this team and DPL. But anyway, so the functionality of the team that I thought of was like, okay, uh, for those of you that don't know, if we can go over to the viability rankings of the tier, one thing that you'll notice probably pretty quickly is that there are a significant amount of rock weak Pokemon and not a very significant amount of rock resists in the tier. If we look at Volcanion, Thundurus, these are weak to rocks. Mega Salamence, Talonflame, these are all weak to rocks. And they're very commonly ran a lot together. Whereas, like, maybe the most rock resist you'll ever have, something like Conkeldurr plus Aegislash or Conkeldurr plus Fairthorn. So, generally, the thought is that having rocks is pretty plus value, which is not something that you would probably think with, like, very. Like, if you're coming from VGC, you probably wouldn't think that rocks are that effective because they just generally aren't in VGC. But in doubles U and especially in XY doubles U, they're really effective because you just have way more turns, and a lot of the Pokemon that get sent in are taking more than the 12% from rocks, the 12.5% from rocks. So I started the team with Kangaskhan and Deoxys, and the thought is really simple. You click Fake Out and you click Stealth Rock, and maybe after that you click Spikes, or you can click Ice Beam on like a Rocky Helmet Landorus that's trying to commit and make Kangaskhan scared with its Seismic Toss because it's one of the more common Kangaskhan Seismic Toss answers. And then kind of the way that I thought about it was that the team should flow kind of similarly to something like a singles hyper offense team where like you have like say your hazard lead and then you just kind of like your defensive ability is just like your offensive pressure, if that makes sense. Like the best defense is a good offense, and so it's what I kind of did. Like I'm like okay, I have Genesect, and I'm gonna give it Explosion, and basically with that plus Scarflanders, like the thought is just that like once Kangaskhan and Deoxys are down after cooking Stealth Rock, Seismic Toss, maybe a Psycho Boost, like just dropping a bunch of percent on the opposing team. What I felt like doing then was having two really fast Pokemon with very useful offensive coverage. Uh, this, and we'll talk a bit more about Special Landers in a different way very soon. But this was what I decided was good for this week. Uh, and then like the Explosion Genesect I thought was really nice next to Stealth Rock, and so I wanted to run Jellicent so that I had something to pair it with that didn't have to click Protect. You actually notice that the only Protect on this team is on Mega Kangaskhan, and you'll also see that on future teams, not all of my Mega Kangaskhan's run Protect. I don't think that all of them should run Protect. Like, most people will agree that Fake Out and Seismic Toss are, like, the moves that Kangaskhan likely should be running. Some people will tell you that Seismic Toss is, like, worse than Return. That's an opinion. It's not one I agree with, but it is an opinion. But anyway, so yeah, Jellicent, Explosion, and then it kind of annoys things with like Taunt and Will-O-Wisp. Like your idea is that you can Will-O-Wisp a Kangaskhan and like probably beat it 1v1 even if they are Crunch. Uh, and then Conkeldurr, which just like trades really well with the majority of the metagame. Uh, Pretty much impossible to Oko without something like Talonflame Brave Bird. Uh, and just really good offensive coverage. Plus, knockoff has utility, taking away Rocky Helmets for Kangaskhan, taking away Choice Scarves to open up other offense, Ice Punch for the Genies, Guts, and you'll see actually alternate between Keldor abilities throughout the tournament from Guts and Iron Fist, but I decided on Guts for now. And Guts, the most typical application of it is something like being able to 1v1 Volcanion more consistently because the idea is you can Drain Punch it without the fear of being Steam Eruption burned, and then if you do get Steam Eruption burned, it's actually a little plus EV for you. So that's nice. But yeah, I'll talk about Iron Fist a bit more in a bit. So that was the theory of the week 1 team. Like, lead Kangaskhan, lead Deoxys-S. I'm going to click Stealth Rock, Seismic Toss, and just overwhelm Single Thunder with my offense. So let's go to the replay thread now, shall we? And I'm going to pull up my game, and we're going to talk about it. So at preview, the one thing I'm noticing is that Stealth Rock is looking pretty good, right? We've got Volcanion, we got Thundurus, we got Kyurem. There's the Scizor, which is absolutely going to threaten an Oko on my Deoxys with a Bug Bite, so Stealth Rock has to be my priority here. I feel like generally I would actually be pretty okay trading Deoxys for Stealth Rock. So like if the lead is something like Scizor and Thundurus and like they're going, oh, well, I'm going to either taunt you or Bug Bite you, depending on which thought you don't Fake Out, you know, I'm like pretty okay because Stealth Rock is doing just 75% to these guys alone. I guess Thundurus is on the board, but if I ever do force it to switch, then it has to, come in and take 25. And that's very real. That's like very pressuring when you have something like Landorus that would put Landorus is coming in and it's threatening a lot of damage at 75%. Conkeldurr trades so much better when these guys are at 75%. Genesect is way more threatening to a Thundurus at 75% because that's when your +1 extreme speed is likely going to kill without significant defense investment. So like rocks is generally my plan. I'm like, okay, I'll click rocks no matter what. Also, I should probably note that I have not watched these replays in months because, as you see, this DPL was pretty much a year ago. So yeah, Single Thunder leads with Conkeldurr and Scizor. I go to Jellicent, really safe swap there. Don't have to risk Superpower. Don't have to risk a Drain Punch from Conkeldurr. and I get the rocks up. Scizor clicks Swords Dance, and it is a little annoying because I don't have a Volcanion on this team. Volcanion, if you're not familiar, pretty much a mainstay on XYDOU teams. Like, I wouldn't say it's an auto include. There aren't very many Pokemon in these DOU formats that are like auto includes, but Volcanion is definitely one of the most common Pokemon, if not the most common. We can check the usage stats later, but I think it was easily in the top three, if not the most common Pokemon. But yeah, so I go to Jellicent, and it's really nice because not only does it end up blowing the Conkeldurr, but it also threatens the Scizor with Will-O-Wisp. I know this is going to be Mega Scizor, and I also know that it, like 99% chance is not going to have knockoff, so it's not something to be concerned about. And just generally, like, on the turn one, like, I know Thundurus is probably not going to switch into Kangaskhan DOS, so it's a pretty free switch for Jellicent, as in, like, I won't be pressured by Thundurus by the time I switch this in. All right, so turn two, I eat the Bullet Punch because I'm Deoxys. These Deoxys spreads are very bulky. The Landorus goes down to the Ice Beam plus Rocky Helmet combination, and I get the Will-O-Wisp on Scizor, which is good. They don't typically run Roost, and just again that damage output is severely weakened. So I'm gonna switch Jellicent and go to Landers to nerf both these physical attackers, fake out the Conkeldurr to get a bit of damage. You see there's the superpower, but now at, I guess only +1 attack and burn. Max HP Kangaskhan shrugs it off pretty well. I'm even in range to take a Mach Punch here, but I decide to play it safe, go to Jellicent, and get my Conkeldurr in because Conkeldurr is definitely in a safe spot against these two neutered physical attackers. Yeah, so I drop Shadow Ball, and Single Thunder actually reveals Citrus Conkeldurr, which is interesting. My Jellicent takes the knockoff. Pretty decent damage. But yeah, we see, this is where it's trying to boost up, but even that's not enough, and Jellicent recovers to full. Drain Punch takes out the Scizor. Crit almost surely did not matter right there at -1 defense. You see the Volcanion comes in, takes the rocks. AV Conkeldurr eats the Steam Eruption so well. Shadow Ball just barely missing the KO on Single Thunder's Conkeldurr, but I'm generally pretty okay with that. You can see, I know that Steam Eruption will take out my Conkeldurr now, so I just Mach Punch their Conkeldurr and launch a Shadow Ball into the Volcanion. So right now things are looking pretty good for me, right? Like, Volcanion is, I'm pretty sure, in CB Genesect Extreme Speed range. I might go Landorus here. I really don't remember. Like, it's been quite a while since I've watched these games. But overall, it's looking pretty decent here. But I do make a pretty noticeable mistake in a couple turns. I do remember that. Yeah, so I Extreme Speeded the Volcanion to take that out with the attack boost. That was surely guaranteed. And I miss Will-O-Wisp onto the Thundurus. I think what I should have done instead is click Shadow Ball into the Thundurus for guaranteed damage, because it probably would not have brought this Thundurus into Citrus Berry range, but the +1 Extreme Speed would take out a Thundurus with just a bit more chip, and then I could focus down the Thundurus. And you see my Genesect gets paralyzed there. Jellicent eats Thunderbolt and a Fusion Bolt, which is definitely not great. There was definitely the opportunity to go into Landorus as well. But yeah, I just definitely rushed this endgame, and you see that chip from the Will-O-Wisp miss plus not going for Shadow Ball, it matters. And right there, Single Thunder knows that now I can go into Landorus, and yeah. But still, the position's fine, right? Fake out onto the Kyurem, it's definitely low. It'll take a seismic toss, but it's low. Extreme Speed comes out. T-Wave comes out onto my Kangaskhan full para. Ice Beam comes out. Kangaskhan can't do it. Genesect full paralyzed Thundurus, and you see that my Genesect just keeps getting full paralyzed. If I attacked that turn, I probably would have been able to win the game, assuming that I got 2 straight attacks there. But yeah, that's that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paralyses in 6 turns and a Will-O-Wisp miss. So it's a little unfortunate, but definitely the end game could have been managed better. Again, I want to emphasize, Will-O-Wisp was definitely not an optimal play onto the Thundurus, and I got punished for it by missing. And then I left Jellicent out in front of 2 Pokemon that very obviously were going to click electric moves into it. And I tried to bait there, but it was a little too late. And unfortunately, I just did not have, the Thunderwave RNG kind of punished me for it. But you kind of see how the team works, right? Like the rocks were very effective. Kangaskhan was throwing out decent damage. Things were burned. Scizor was burned. It was losing HP to burn chip. Like my King Keldor was out trading their physical attackers. Overall, the team looks solid. And so I was kind of in my team chat, and I'm like, going into week 2, I'm like, I really want to use DOS again. It was really good. And so I built a little bit of an edited version. Um, I decided to change Lando T for Lando I. I just really felt like having the stronger Earth Power damage was worth it because like Choice Scarf Special Landorus T does not OHKO Volcanion, Assault Vest Volcanion after Stealth Rock. This is something that Landorus I does all the time, guaranteed. If you're facing a 75% AV Volcanion, Earth Power is getting you that KO. Um, the really bulky ones might, like, I like to run a little bit of Modest on my Volcanions. The bulky ones might take the Earth Power from full, but it depends. And then the other thing is that like you're still faster than like opposing Mega Kangaskhan without having to run Choice Scarf, which is really nice. I keep the same Deoxys set at this point. I run Overheat of all my Volcanion. This is, I would say it's not necessarily standard. Some people will run HP Grass. But the one thing that I noticed about my team from last week is that without the Goggles Taunt Jellicent, like the Amoonguss matchup can be really annoying. So that's what Overheat is for, because Amoonguss. It also does a lot of damage to Aegislash if that was something that my week 2 opponent decided to load. And again, another reason why I wanted to pivot to Lando I as well, just because that also threatens Aegislash a lot more. Same Kangaskhan as last week. And this week I went with Psychic over Explosion on my Genesect. Don't do this. Don't run Psychic on Choice Band Genesect. It gets Zen Headbutt. It gets Zen Headbutt. The 90% accuracy it's worth it. Don't run Psychic. But yeah. So that was the week 1 game. All in all, I felt like I played a decent game until the end game where I felt like I was up too much that I did not have to consider losing to RNG, and then I lost to RNG. So I would say it was a bit unfortunate, but I can't cry too much. So we're going into week 2 here. This is versus Laptops. Laptops, a good friend of mine, very strong XY player. And at team preview, I'm considering a few things. First of all, there is a team that I think was built by Grandma's Cookin' that uses these exact 6 Pokemon, but it's Mega Diancie and Focus Sash Gengar. And I remember being at team preview, I'm like, did Laptops load this into me? Because like Mega Diancie, with Magic Bounce, definitely something that would annoy a DOS that very much wants to get some Stealth Rock up. And we see the same thing here. Thundurus, Volcanion, Landorus, like all these Pokemon, like Landorus does not take 25 from rocks, yes. But the thing about Landorus is that like if you get rocks on it, then it dies to Ice Beam. Like from 88%, it's dying to Ice Beam unless it's Assault Vest, which is definitely less common than like you would think. Like coming from VGC 15, like Assault Vest Landorus was very common in that format, especially towards the later end of the year when it became more influenced by Japan. But in Dear You, it's mostly like Rocky Helmet or Choice Scarf. You'll see you will see Assault Vest occasionally. You'll see Choice Band occasionally, but those are the 2 big ones. And both of those generally are not taking an Ice Beam from DOS with a little bit of investment after a round of Stealth Rock. And so it's generally kind of the same plan here, right? Like I'm looking and I'm like, okay. DOS also looks really good offensively because there's no Psychic Resist on this team. But yeah, like I want to get my rocks up and win trades. Throw offense, win trades. So let's hop into the game. King Dio versus Volcanion Landorus. I shouldn't be faking out the Landorus in this situation, probably, because I don't want to, potentially take 2 hits of Rock Helmet Chip. So I'd imagine that this is a fake out going into the Volcanion and a Stealth Rock from me. Oh, no fake out. Seismic Toss in the Volcanion. Yeah, that's definitely fair. Mega Kangaskhan, one of the, best Volcanion bullies in the tier because Seismic Toss, 2 shots, even max HP Volcanion. Just does not have the HP stat to keep up. I think Volcanion is like base 70 HP, base 80. Yeah, you need to be a little bit higher than that. You need 400 HP to not be to get KO'd by Seismic Toss, which is quite a bit. Or 4-1, I should say, like this Kinkelder. But yeah, so that's pretty good. Volcanion is not like it's not entirely out of commission, but like the good thing about Volcanion is that it trades really well. So taking like 55% on turn 1 and then being threatened with the same thing turn 2. Like if it stays in, it's dead, and if it switches out, it's at 20%, which isn't trading with anything, and it's slow, so it's not like it's going to attack before anything except for Conkelder. So generally, like that is a really good way to get rid of Volcanion. And what do we see? We see Steam Eruption into DOS, and Laptops goes for Stealth Rock as well. But as you see, I do have one less Stealth Rock week than the Laptops. I only have Volcanion. And yeah, there's the 89% to Lander, so just, again, backs up what I said earlier about the Ice Beam roll. I go into my own Lando Eye here, and I Seismic Toss the Volcanion to take 2 quick knockouts. Laptops could have potentially gone into Gengar, but I understand not wanting to do that. Gengar really needs its health. So this turn, I show off the Psychic, and I think this was a bit of a misplay by me. I think that I definitely should have just gone for the kill on Conkelder, but I think also after what happened to me in week 1, I was like, no, Thundurus needs to go. I wouldn't say it's the best played turn for me. Like, in a situation where you have 2 fast threats that can pick their Oko of choice, you probably want to pick your Oko instead of spreading out damage, especially because Conkelder is a very dangerous Pokemon to leave, unattended while it can click Drain Punch into your Kangaskhan and Juice Box up its health. So I'd say that was a bit of a misplay, but I kind of understand what I was going for after my week 1 trauma. But yeah, Laptop's just gonna, just click the super effective buttons and get 2 KOs on me. And there comes the T-Wave, which is quite concerning. But yeah, you see there the Psychic does not even KO Conkelder. Zen Headbutt would have got there. Don't run Psychic. And here the Gengar comes out, and we do see that it is Mega, which I kind of assumed since the Diancie didn't lead. I feel like if you were Mega Diancie, you probably want to lead to get that Magic Bounce immediately and shut down my Stealth Rock. But it wasn't, so I eventually played out the game assuming this was Mega Gengar. My fast Conkelder KOs Laptop's Conkelder before it can move, and then Psychic breaks the sub. Diancie's in like a decent position to click Diamond Storm here, but I do just kind of threaten knockoff onto Gengar. Diancie in this tier runs Diamond Storm and Moonblast usually, and then like Trick Room. And it's not like Moonblast is doing a ton to AV Conkelder. And if you don't click Diamond Storm, then I could potentially click like Psychic and knock off. And I also understand wanting to, potentially get the sub back up instead of protecting from Laptops' end. Oops, didn't mean to skip the turn. So yeah, I take the Stealth Rock. I do get poisoned, but like it's not the end of the world because Steam Eruption just does so much to Diancie, and then Drain Punch, and boom. It could have potentially been scary to have like Laptops protect the Diancie, but you don't want to protect the Diancie and then just have me like Earth Power the Gengar. It'd be sloppy. And so you can see there, this is really the game that like highlighted the effectiveness of the style for me. Like the team did exactly what I wanted it to, except for I would say the turn that I really misplayed was the one where I did not take my KO on either Thundurus or Conkelder. I really could have picked either one, and I decided to pick none. Would not recommend doing that. But yeah, got early rocks, got Seismic Toss damage, and then Genesect and Lander spread some damage, and then Volcanion and Conkelder pulled it back. I was down 3-4 at one point in the game, a couple turns ago. Yeah, right here. But, with the just the way the team is built, that's not really that big of an issue, because sometimes you just have the offensive momentum to win games. So for week 3, if I remember correctly. Oh, no, it wasn't this. Okay. For week 3, I'm up against Yellow Paint, who I played last year in DPL and XY as well. And by last year, I mean in 2023, mind you. And, we don't really have changes for the... Oh, did I run Psychic again? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I actually think I just like the team so much. I told the team that I was gonna run it again, and also I should mention that I was like the manager and player of my DPL team. So like, I guess most people just did not feel like they had the authority to tell me that I couldn't reuse this team again, which like sure, I mean it worked out. But yeah, so I felt pretty good about coming back from that week 1 loss with winning a close game versus a strong player. And here we go into week 3 versus Paint, and once again, like they're not once again, but you see the staples of XY. They're here again. Genesect, Landers, Thunders, Kinkelder. We see Yellow Paint has his own Deoxys. However, there's no Kangaskhan, and I've also ran Deoxys on non-Kangaskhan teams a few times, but I really feel like it is the best Vega to have next to Deoxys, just because the fake out security is really nice. The like you can Psycho Boost and Seismic Toss and pick up most Kinkelders, which is like one of the bigger threats to Kangaskhan. That's also really nice. Ice Beam on Rocky Helmet Lando T for Kangaskhan is really nice. Some of these things do apply to other Pokemon like Charizard and Salamence as well, but I feel like that's where the synergy shines the most. So yeah, this is kind of just a like I wouldn't call it necessarily a mirror, but we are playing with a lot of the same pieces and have pretty much the same goal. So let's see how it goes. Kangaskhan and Deoxys from the lead. And we see Charizard Protect. I see some people make this mistake in XY. If you're running Charizard, don't Mega Evolve and Protect. This applies to other tiers, like I guess National Dex is like a big thing where Charizard is popular in. Don't Mega Evolve and Protect ever because you're just wasting a turn of your sun. And even in XY where you have like the tier without Mega Speed, um, Charizard speed stays the same between Mega and non-Mega. So again, just no reason to ever Mega Evolve and Protect. Pink gets Genesect in. I went for Taunt onto the Landers, I guess. I don't know if I really agree with that taunt. Like, it was probably not Stealth Rock Landers, considering there's a Deoxys. I probably could have just thrown out my own rocks or an Ice Beam. Interesting. Yeah, and we see this turn, the Charizard Mega Evolves, and I believe our Kangaskhan and Charizard do Speed Tie, and Seismic Toss picks up the KO on the Charizard. I trade my Deoxys for that. I don't think Max HP Kangaskhan lives in Overheat. I guess it depends on the spread. The way I remember Paint confirming this was Timid Charizard, and like maybe Timid Charizard Overheat doesn't KO Max HP Kangaskhan. I don't really care to look at that right now. We both opted into the play. I was the one that benefited from it. I'm not really upset about it. But yeah, I do lose my Deoxys to the Genesect U-turn. I get some Rocky Helmet chip on that, which may or may not be significant. But yeah, this turn, we see it's actually Life Orb DOS from Paint, but that Ice Beam just still really does not do a ton. And we do see Psychic get the KO there, but again, just please run Zen Headbutt. So yeah, I swap out my Genesect because being locked into Psychic versus these two guys is like not great. This was a pretty good application of Protect Kangaskhan, just holding on to that momentum, and I get a great Volcanion switch here. And now I can abuse Paint Sun and fire off Sun boosted Heat Waves, which is really nice. Get a good amount of damage onto that Thunderous. And I guess Landers might KO Kangaskhan with Earthquake here. I don't think so. Yeah, Kangaskhan hangs on. I can bring in anything to outspeed the Thunderous. And there's the Rocky Helmet on the Landers. We see no, or there's the Seismic Toss on the Landers. We see no Rocky Helmet. And the Stone Edge miss on the Landers just basically confirms that I'm taking this one as E-Speed can't take out Landorus, and I HP Ice Paint's Landorus. Seismic Toss comes off, and now Paint just does not have enough moves to win the game. So at this point, I advance to 2-1, and running the same team as last week, and a very much not so dissimilar team to my week 1 build. And so moving on to week 4, I was playing Talking Tree, who I don't think. No, he did. He did. Talking Tree is one of my losses in the 2023 DPL. I believe it was DPL 9. And he got me pretty well on matchup, I remember. And I kind of decided that I was going to play Rain this week. Like I decided that in my head that I was going to play Rain this week because I thought that if you looked at my team and you wanted to get an advantage into my stuff, you would play Rain. And so that's why I adopted Choice Scarf, Grass Knot, Landorus Tea, which outspeeds Mega Swampert, in Rain. Mega Swampert, pretty much the biggest reason to use Rain in XYDOU. It's immune to Thunderwave, good into Landorus, good into Volcanion. Like Kingdra and Ludicolo are nice, but Mega Swampert is the reason you use Rain. And Choice Scarf Grass Knot just happens to OHKO it, so that's nice. I also looked into Magic Coat this week after playing a DOS Mirror. It's just really funny because like instead of mutually clicking Stealth Rock, you can click Magic Coat and waste their turn and get Stealth Rock out of it. Just funny. Oh man, I was still on Psychic Genesect this week. If you take anything out of this video, it's don't use Psychic Genesect. Please. Anything else change? I changed Crunch to Low Kick on Kangaskhan. It's not like a super big deal. I guess I just kind of assumed that I wouldn't need to hit like a substitute, like a Mega Gengar, like fair. But yeah. Let's. So was my Rain prediction right? I feel like I might have confirmed that already. I forget. Anyway. Yeah, I'm fighting the Rain. This is pretty much the like bog standard Rain sample, and so I'm just kind of thinking, all right, I want to get rocks, and then I'll use my fat Assault Vest Pokemon to like trade with the special attacking Rain Pokemon, use Genesect Extreme Speed to take KOs, and use my Choice Scarf Landers to take out the Swampert if the opportunity ever presents itself. So one thing to note is that if you aren't familiar, the Rain sample does use Rocky Helmet Kangaskhan. So I don't think I fake out that. Do I take the fake out trade? Probably, yeah. I fake out the Thundurus. This is, you can tell from the fake out damage that is like a no bulk Thundurus. And you see Ludicolo actually takes some Rocky Helmet damage from Thundurus there. I get my Stealth Rock up, and I went to Seismic Toss Thundurus for the kill. Paint goes into the eject button Politoed to set up Rain and get some momentum. Gets the boosted Hydro Pump on Ludicolo, but it's actually not enough to take out DOS, which I think is really funny. And Brave Bird finishes it off. Hydro Pump goes into Kangaskhan, and I Seismic Toss to Talonflame. This Ludicolo could be a threat, but most importantly, taking down the Talonflame really opens up the game for Conkeldurr. And I don't particularly agree with the Mach Punch there. It probably should have been a Drain Punch. Muddy Water and Hydro Pump was not killing. Maybe Hydro Pump was killing, but no, actually, see, it wouldn't have killed. See, I really should have been Drain Punch for me that turn, but it's fine. We see Volcanion just being really effective in the face of these two waters. Gets Kingdra down, which is really nice. Genesect able to come in now. And that Thundurus is in Extreme Speed range, so I'm just going to take my kill. Doesn't really matter what I click on the Ludicolo this turn. Yeah, like a Heat Wave for a pittance of damage. Politoed comes back in. I probably E-Speed the Politoed. Oh, I E-Speed the Ludicolo. Yeah, that takes out the Ludicolo. And I do live the Rocky Helmet Recoil. Politoed takes out Genesect. But yeah, this is just how the team goes, right? I have rocks up, and I won every trade. And I win the game. So that's the benefit of DOS. That's why this team was so effective. And at this point, I've brought this team every week. I'm 3-1, and I don't like when people say that they should win games that they ended up losing, but I did get probably the most unlucky that I've ever been in a big DOU tournament game in my loss to Single Thunder. So I'm doing pretty good in the tournament, right? And I think I might be one of two players that's 3-1 at this point. I don't think anybody was 4-0 in the XY pool. And so next week, week 5, I'll go ahead and skip forward a bit. SMB decided to slot into XY to fight me after playing SM for, I think, 3 of the 4 previous weeks. And I was pretty scared about that because, SMB is really good. And I don't think I'd had a win on him in tournament at that point in time. And so I decided to get a little bit creative here with the build. And so I changed some things. I used Helping Hand Kangaskhan. I really like Helping Hand Kangaskhan. It's cool if somebody wants to throw a Rocky Helmet Pokemon at you So you use Helping Hand on like the not Rocky Helmet Pokemon. Also nice for something like Bisharp Sucker Punch. It's just priority. You can Helping Hand Drain Punch something to get more health back than you normally would. I use Skydrop Thunders for disruption. I used Energy Ball Deoxys-Speed because I was worried about potentially like Gastrodon or Swampert. And I decided to add Bisharp instead of the Genesect that I've been using. I just kind of felt like something about SMB's team styles would lead Genesect to be like pretty effective, and considering that or lead Bisharp to be pretty effective, and considering I brought Genesect to all 4 weeks previously, I kind of assumed that maybe it wouldn't be a Pokemon that he gave a lot of respect to in the builder. And I loaded into the game, and I was met with this. Sableye, Gastrodon, Chansey, Arcanine, Ferrothorn, and Landorus. Really, really scary stuff. But I do see the line in here. Double Intimidate, really good for Bisharp. Mega Sableye can be Seismic Toss by Kangaskhan, and once it Mega Evolves to get Magic Bounce, it doesn't have Prankster recover anymore, so maybe it can be overwhelmed that way. I do have the Energy Ball of the US for the Gastrodon. I'm like assuming that everything has Rocky Helmet. That is not Sableye or Chansey. Like I'm genuinely assuming that all 4 of these Pokemon have Rocky Helmet at this point. So anyway, we start the game. What was that? Gastrodon? Sorry. Yeah, we start in the game and it's Gastrodon Sableye versus Kangaskhan and Bisharp. I really want to get a lot of damage on the Sableye right away. And so I just remember I'm like, I need to hit this thing like right now. And SMB does Mega Evolve the Sableye, which is a little curious to me. Maybe it's maybe the bulk. I guess it's for the bulk. But yeah, he ends up Will-Wisping the Kangaskhan. I get it. You probably assume that like the Bisharp is going to play away from the threat of Will-Wisp this turn. But in my eyes, I'm like, okay. Either he's going to switch the Sableye, or he's going to assume that I'm going to play passive, and maybe he doesn't want to Will-Wisp the Bisharp in case I'm going to go to like Guts Conkeldurr and just like wham Drain Punches into the other slot that isn't Sableye. So, oops, sorry. So yeah, the Gastrodon switches for Ferrothorn. I assume to catch me with Rocky Helmet. Seismic Toss goes into the Mega Sableye, and then Iron Head goes into the Mega Sableye. Yeah, so it needed a Mega Evolve to survive that combination. Sableye's basically dead, right? And so you see on turn 2, I get it with Seismic Toss. And knockoff into the Ferrothorn. Gets rid of that Rocky Helmet. I think the Ferrothorn... Oh, it clicks Leech Seed. I was going to say, I thought it clicked Spikes. Maybe it's later in the game that it reveals Spikes. Gastrodon comes out. At this point, I assume that's still Rocky Helmet. It might actually be Rocky Helmet. I actually don't remember. And yeah, the Ferrothorn... I get the double switch on the double protect because I'm just like not trying to let him just like waste me away with passive damage, right? And I managed to find the spot where Dios is on the field with the Mega Sableye down. So I get my rocks up and I knock off what I thought would be the Gastrodon Rocky Helmet actually knocks off the Arcanine Rocky Helmet. I get Volcanion in here in like a pretty decent spot, and I taunt the Ferrothorn. Oh, I must have been taunt, not Energy Ball. Yeah, that makes sense. I missed Psycho Boost onto Arcanine, which like kind of sucks. And then Heat Wave for like no damage. I'm like trying to navigate this annoying like Arcanine Gastrodon board. So you see I'm letting like my DOS just gets whittled down by Snarls. And I have -2 Thunders on the field, so that's like kind of unfortunate. I think I tried to catch a Snarl with the Bisharp switch here. But yeah, just gonna go ahead and start threatening out the Seismic Toss damage now that that's what it was. I taunted on the spikes. Yeah, but yeah, threatening out the Seismic Toss damage now that Sableye's down. I can do that safely, and I've knocked off 2 of the Rocky Helmets. Conkeldurr at this point, staring down the Chansey with Drain Punch is really nice. Forces in the Arcanine, which gives me a Defiant boost. I think I used that to kill the Ferrothorn. Yep. And this point, I think I wanted to protect Bisharp to just like scout. Gastrodon fails to protect. Skydrop picks up the Arcanine. so that Bisharp guarantees lives to the end of the turn. Oh, this was where I went to scout. Yeah. Uh, the Earth Power moves before my Thundurus, which is a fast Thundurus, so this confirms it's Scarf Landers, and I just decide to go ahead and whale the Sucker Punch, because if it fails, then I will take any Life Orb recoil, and Thunderbolt will finish off the Arcanine. So from here, Conkeldurr stares down the Chansey, and that's a GG. So what happens if I don't run Bisharp into that team, you might be wondering? Because, well, in Week 6, JRL decided to load the exact team into me again. And for Week 6, if I have that, I decided to drop the Bisharp for Genesect. And without Bisharp, this matchup is rough, man. This time, like, I fake out the not Sableye Pokemon. I really should have faked out the Sableye. I was too scared about switching into Rocky Helmet, I guess. Seismic Toss goes off onto Gastrodon, but even Seismic Toss was over. Like, it's just bad. Like, my Volcanion loses health, and that's really important. Gastrodon goes into Ferrothorn. I do get the Seismic Toss off onto Sableye, but I'm like, I don't think. I think I was in a position where, like, Seismic Toss. Yeah. He switches to Arcanine, so Seismic Toss plus Ice Punch wouldn't have killed. Like, I do get the Rocky Helmet off here, but Sableye recovers. Snarl comes out. Sableye starts getting up Calm Minds because I couldn't KO it fast enough. And the game just kind of falls apart. Like, I just can't do enough to this Sableye fast enough. Like, it just clicks recover here after I had spent, like, a turn and a half targeting it down. And this is what happens when DOS can't get the game plan that it wants, right? That's what I kind of wanted to spend the past 2 games emphasizing is, like, versus SMB, I had to play, like, Bisharp, like, very precisely. Like, I could not. And it was really only because I decided to run Taunt on DOS, which I can't believe I omitted. Yeah, it was Taunt. Yeah, I remember now because I thought Taunt DOS plus Bisharp would be, like, very effective into SMB. But yeah, it's just bad. Like, I'll go ahead and skip through. And this isn't to say that I don't want to talk about my losses or whatever, but the game is just not that exciting. Like, JRL plays very well defensively, and I don't have the offense to win the game, even though I'm up in the Pokemon count here. Like, at one point I'm 3-6, but I with the hazards up, and I just can't remove anything fast enough. And yeah, Chansey, like, sweeps me at the end, I think. Yeah, I needed, like, and I don't even know if I could have won that. Like, yeah. So Chansey, stalls me out at the end. That's the thing. Like, this is what happens when you run teams that are built on offensive momentum. When your offensive momentum gets halted, it's not great. And that was Week 6. So at this point, I'm 4-2 heading into Week 7. I'm not going to talk about my playoff games in this video, by the way, because I only want to talk about DOS. And I did not run DOS in playoffs. Maybe I'll make more analysis on, like, my DPL playoffs if people want to see that. But for this video, I'm just really interested in showcasing DOS. So we're going to go to my last replay, which is me versus Jello, Sir Gelatin Jello 1231, who's a bit of a newcomer to the tier. But if I remember correctly, this is the Spindas and their XY starter, Amaranth. Had a bit of a rough tournament. I think he went, like, 0-4, which no shade to Amaranth. He's a very strong player. Has had several other great doubles tournament performances. This DPL wasn't working for him, so Jello decided to sub in for the later half of the Spindas season in XY. At this point, I was 6-for-6 on using DOS in regular season. I decided I was going to go 7-for-7. I think our team was already guaranteed playoffs as well. And I decided to reuse the team that I loaded versus SMB. I think this is where the Energy Ball DOS came from, because I remember I tested Rain a lot with Jello to get him, like, up to speed in the tier. And so I thought he might use that against me. But yeah, I wanted to go back to the Bisharp version after, just in case I have to fight Chansey Sableye for the 3rd week in a row, have Bisharp by my side to help me with that. But instead we see Metagross. And so in addition to, the usual Genies, Volcanion, Conkeldurr, we have Metagross and Hydreigon, which are 2 Pokemon that we don't typically see a lot of. I think both are, like, pretty decent. But really, all that means for me is that, you know, I gotta hit this with like Bishop or Volcanion. I gotta hit this with King Gelder. Like it's not really anything special compared to like the usual matchup. So yeah, I lead with the trusted duo. And this time I see the Conkeldurr and I just decide to take it, which like I want to open up my Bisharp for the Metagross. So I just decide to take the kill on Conkeldurr and he gives it to me. And we see it's actually Scarf Hydreigon, I'm pretty sure. I guess that wasn't revealed on turn one because I Mega Evolved with Kangaskhan, but I think it's revealed on one of the subsequent turns. It's Scarf. Jello baits me here with the Volcanion, just like, hey, you want another free kill, and I fell for the bait. Yeah, that's where the Scarf is revealed, and yeah, he gets me there. Excuse me. He gets me there with the Scarf Hydreigon and the Rocky Helmet on Lander, so it was a very nice play by him. So I retreat for Conkeldurr because I'm not being threatened by much here. Dark Pulse goes into Thundurus, and I HP Ice Jealous Thundurus on the switch for a decent amount. And HP Ice. Oh, yeah, that was a nice play by me. HP Ice to Hydreigon instead of Thunder Waving it. And it goes into laners to intimidate my Conkeldurr, but then I get the laners out of it, which is quite nice. I think I knock off the Thundurus here. Oh, no, Ice Punch. They would have done about the same knockoff versus Ice Punch after the Citrus Berry recovery. I think getting Genocide or getting Bisharp in here, sorry, is like a bit of a risky play, but you see I was able to do it. And now I'm threatening 2 slots onto the Metagross, which is quite nice. I do fail the Sucker Punch, and the Heat Wave doesn't KO the Thundurus, so this could be a little tricky. I do let the Thundurus get off another Heat Wave, and you see Bisharp fully paralyzes. Before, I guess I was going for Sucker Punch on Hydreigon, and there's a Heat Wave miss. So at this point, I'm starting to sweat a little. But I do still have my Volcanion lined up on this Metagross. I've got Overheat, as always. So I'm threatening to KO there. And we see the Jello does not have a Zen Headbutt on his Metagross, which I think is enough to secure me the game. As I hit the Overheat through pair, I take out the Metagross, and then Conkeldurr lives to hit the Volcanion with a Drain Punch and the Hydreigon with a Mach Punch. Like, maybe Kangaskhan would have been able to close it out, but I don't think so. So, very nice that Jello did not have Zen Headbutt, I guess. And from here, the game goes pretty simply. Volcanion takes out the low HP Volcanion, and I win. So, that was DOS like a year ago. What's changed? How have people adapted to DOS? Well, one of the ways is teams like this, Mega Diancie with Magic Bounce. However, this shouldn't discourage you from running DOS. You can do a lot of things to stop that. I've recently hopped back on the Scarf Lando T train, and I might have this somewhere in my builder. Like, here's an example, Oh, this isn't Scarf. Sorry. I've definitely got Scarf Lando T Deoxys somewhere. I won't go looking for it. But yeah, like, you get the idea. Like, Diancie, you can run Flash Cannon on DOS as well, which I do have on this team. I have Flash Cannon DOS, which kills. That's interesting. It's fun. Scarf Lando, even Scarf Genesect, which I think people should use a bit more. I think the CB set has gotten a little overused. Flash Cannon Thundurus, I don't like it. Some of the players do, especially Idle, likes Flash Cannon Thundurus. With like safety goggles and max speed, so you can even hit it around Amoonguss. That's an interesting set. Some of the other things that popped up. A lot of people like Spadef Aegislash now. This isn't a full team, but a lot of people like Spadef Aegislash. I like Spadef Aegislash. It's really good, and it kind of shuts down the Kang DOS lead hard. Like, they'll still get the rocks up if they want it, but like Shadow Ball, like either Okos or it puts DOS in like Shadow Sneak range, and then the Kangaskhan has to like crunch it instead of Seismic Toss in the other slot, or like non-mega Seismic Toss it. So like, Aegislash is a little annoying. Like, you can run Lando I, you can run Volcanion, you can run the slow Conkeldurr. Like, I think that my initial team like had tools to hit Aegislash, but it's more annoying that like you can't really lead Kang DOS into it, I guess, is the main thing. I think SMB Sableye Stall is like a really good counter team to Kang DOS that doesn't get used a lot because it's like hard to use. Every time I've seen it used after DPL, I think it lost. And nowadays we're just kind of at that. Like, DOS is just a fixture of the metagame. I wouldn't say that I like initialized it, but I guess I would say that my DPL run kind of popularized it, made it a very mainstream Pokemon. I remember before DPL, we had it at tier 4 on the VR, and this bumped it up. Um, Not entirely my DPL run, but like it was one of the things that I think brought DOS into the mainstream. And nowadays, if you're looking for a new archetype to build in XY, Kang DOS is like a good one. I wouldn't say it's like it's not entirely solved, but like the concept is kind of figured out a little bit. So you know, try to innovate with it. It's a fun archetype. Um, it'll always. I think it'll always be good. Like just the way that XY works with Thundurus and Volcanion. Like fast rocks is always going to be good. This psychic damage next to Kangaskhan is always going to be good. Fast ice beam into Landorus is always going to be good. And you have tons of flex slots to play around with, as we saw. The various things had on the team: Taunt, Magic Code, Energy Ball, Spikes. You can run Life Orb instead of Rocky Helmet, and then like do Protect or a Hidden Power Fire or something. But yeah, I think this is all I'm going to do on DOS. Like, if you're familiar with the tier, I'm sorry, this isn't going to reveal like some ancient like Chinese secret to you. You probably know everything that I've talked about already, but I guess this is more for the people that are newer to XY. And that's gonna do it for me.